Thank you for joining us on this episode of Legal Angle with Emmanuel the Law Olawale. My guest today is a returning guest, someone I can call a friend, a colleague, and a friend of the show. Her name is Gina Russo. This is her second time on Legal Angle. Welcome to the show, Gina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. She's currently judge of the Franklin County Municipal Court. Prior to that, she was the judge of the Court of Common Pleas in Franklin County, Ohio. She has worked as a civil litigator and also as an assistant prosecutor. So again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me also start off by congratulating you on your appointment. I know it's been since March to the Municipal Court in Franklin County. And how has the transition been for you?
It's been actually very smooth, to be honest with you. I, having sat and presided on the Court of Common Pleas for 2 years, it's been a very smooth transition. Everybody here has been super accommodating and helpful. Of course, the two courts are quite different in their nature. But people have been, as I mentioned, super accommodating and helpful and getting me caught up to speed, showing me where I need to be and where I need to go. And so I can't say enough about the team I have here in place as well. My assistant and my bailiff, they've been wonderful. So I can't say enough about that.
Wow, you're blessed with a very good team.
Yes, very makes all the difference.
Yeah, you were appointed to the court in March of this year. How did you feel when you got that call?
Well, it was wonderful. It was wonderful news. I was grateful that people had confidence in me. Shortly after I stepped down over in Common Pleas, I was advised that there were many different members of our community who had reached out to the governor's office and to various leaders within our community, and were seeking a role for me. They felt, hopefully, from what I've heard anyway, that I genuinely care about this community. I want to see it continually improve and thrive. And so when I received that phone call that they wanted me to continue to serve as a public servant, I was over the moon and grateful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I can imagine how you felt, even just knowing that people out there were advocating for you.
That was the best part. That was the best part. I was grateful and I was very humbled to hear that I was well received in my role as a judge before, and that people wanted to see me continue to serve.
Yeah, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
There are a lot of people out there who have no clue the difference between the Court of Common Pleas and the Municipal Court. Can you just give them, a crash course and the differences between the two courts?
Yeah. So on the criminal side, of course, the misdemeanor crimes proceed in the municipal court. We also hear the traffic offenses as well. On the civil side, we hear civil disputes $15,000 and less. We also have the small claims division that's $6,000 and less. So when a monetary jurisdiction, it exceeds our monetary jurisdiction, a civil case will be transferred over to Common Pleas. If it's indicted as a felony, obviously it will proceed in Common Pleas. If it's a misdemeanor, it will proceed in municipal court.
Thank you. And I've been served on both courts. Do you notice a lot of differences in the way you've been handling your cases?
So things proceed a lot quicker in municipal court. The volume here, it appears, is a little bit larger. You move things off your docket quicker here. And other than that, the court process and procedure is very similar. We have trials, we have jury trials, we have court trials. We have hearings, motion hearings, evidentiary hearings, just the same as over in the Court of Common Pleas. But it appears that things, it's a faster pace over here, and things move off the docket quicker.
Oh, great. And I haven't been on the bench before, so I'm sure it was as easy as riding a bicycle.
Well, every court has its own processes and procedures and different language, it seems. So getting used to kind of the culture over here and the way things work, everything was new to me.
Well, that's good. And let's go back to how you started your journey in the legal world. What attracted you to become a lawyer in the first place?
Well, that's one of the things that I'd always wanted to be a lawyer. There was never a moment in time that I can point to or a definitional period in my life. It just always seemed to be in the back of my mind. Growing up, I didn't have a lawyer in the family. In fact, a lot of my family members did not go to college, did not go on to higher education at all. It was just something I was drawn and compelled to do. And so I always had it in the back of my mind that once I graduated from college, that I would go on to apply to law school.
Wow. Yeah, and then after you went to law school, you became a lawyer. You started working. Where did you start your legal career at?
So I began as a civil litigation associate with the Voorhees Law Firm. That was in 2002. And I litigated civil cases, employment, workers' compensation, construction, product liability, personal injury, breaches of contract, torts, you name it, any kind of civil case I litigated. And I was there for about 10 years, just over 10 years.
Wow. That's a decade. Was it your dream in law school to work for a big law firm like Voorhees?
Well, I was a summer associate there. So the way that law firms typically recruit new lawyers is through their summer associate program. It's about a 2 or 3 month program where you go and essentially work as an intern. You research and you write and you do other meaningful educational experiences and activities with lawyers. And I was a summer associate at Voorhees in the summer of 2001. And gratefully, I was asked back to join the firm full time in the fall of 2002.
Wow. And, apart from working for Voorhees, which you worked for 10 years doing civil cases, and for a lot of, for anyone out there who doesn't know, the firm Voorhees is one of the big law firms in Ohio, and litigators or attorneys there gets paid very well. You left that well-paying job to serve the community. Why, as an assistant prosecutor? I'm sure you're paid. I don't even want to go there, but it will be a significant pay cut. Why did you do that?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, I felt a calling, honestly, to be a public servant. I wanted to work on behalf of the community. I wanted to serve the community. And on the other hand, I also wanted that litigation experience. I wanted to be in the courtroom. I wanted to try cases. And fortunately or unfortunately, whatever side you come down on, the litigation opportunities and the trial practice opportunities aren't as robust in the civil world as they used to be. When I was litigation associate over the course of my 10 years, I probably tried 6 or 7 jury trials. I maybe had another half dozen court trials or bench trials. But other than that, you're not regularly in the courtroom. You're not regularly trying cases. And when you work for the county or the city, you have more opportunities to do that. So it was kind of twofold. I wanted to be in the courtroom. I wanted that experience. And it was with the added benefit that I was able to serve the community and the public.
Yes, yeah, you're right. As an associate in a law firm, sometimes you may not get to try enough cases. Yes.
Right.
What are those aspects of prosecuting you love?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, what are those aspects of prosecuting cases that you like the most?
Well, as a prosecutor, your main job is to seek justice, not convictions, but justice, and to make sure that justice is being served. And when you're a prosecutor, you get to work on behalf of the state, represent the state. You get to work with victims of crime. Oftentimes, you get to work with the defendants themselves as either witnesses of crimes or victims of crimes themselves. So it's a multi-dimensional position. It's one that, again, is very important to our community. And the real crux of that position is to be seeking justice and to make sure that the community is improving, that the community is safe, and that we are in a position to move forward as a community.
Thank you. And having worked as a prosecutor, then you were appointed to the bench sometimes in 2019, I believe March of 2019.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
How was that transition like for you?
Well, then it was a very smooth transition because at that point in time, I had been working for the county for 7 years. And so I had been in and out and working in and out of that courtroom daily for the just preceding 7 years. So I knew the inner workings of the court. I knew the processes and the procedures. I knew the judges very well and the judges' staff. I knew their likes and dislikes and the things that their expectations. So I knew that court very well. And I knew the personnel. I knew both the other assistant prosecutors I was working with. I knew a lot of the public defenders and a lot of the defense attorneys. As I mentioned, I knew the court staff and the judges themselves. So that transition was very smooth.
Okay, first I'll see if you were being preparing yourself for the job, even though you didn't know you were going to get it.
Right, right. Yeah, at that point in time, I had no idea that that position was even going to be open or available. That happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, because you were serving the community. And just recently, you and another judge, Stephanie Mingo, you started a community project called Beyond the Bench. Can you tell us about Beyond the Bench? What is it about?
Yeah, so Judge Mingo and I got together, and we had actually worked together at the prosecutor's office prior to both taking the bench. But we both had similar philosophies in that we are public servants first, and it is our duty, our responsibility, and our obligations to serve our community. We feel that we are best prepared for public service when we engage in active listening and you engage in interaction with the community members. Oftentimes, whenever judges appear at an event in an organization to speak, they're handed the microphone and asked to tell the community about themselves, their position, their work, their expectation, and what they do. Beyond the Bench is really an initiative to flip that script and to hand a metaphorical microphone to our community members and to hear about them, to hear about who they are, the community from which they come, their hardships, their challenges, their struggles, and then their positives, their successes, their achievements, their expectations of the judges and other elected officials. You can really learn so much by engaging in active listening and engagement with your community. We're expected as judges to make very important life-altering decisions for people on a daily basis. And those decisions cannot be made lightly, and they cannot be made in a vacuum. So the more we're able to learn from our community members, the more we're able to actively engage and listen, the more informed we are and the better equipped we are to make those very important decisions from the bench. And that's what BTB is about.
Oh, thank you. So it's about actively listening to the community. And how have you been able to get that done? How do you decide where to go?
Well, it's been remarkable, truly. We set up a few events in the beginning. Typically, we look for events that are already scheduled or in the making, again, to avoid the event being organized kind of around us as the speakers. So we look for events where a conversation may already be taking place, and we'll be there to engage in that active listening component. But we've reached out to educational organizations, religious, civic, any organization that really is having a meaningful dialogue or conversation that we can really benefit from as judges. And so this year we've gone anywhere from Vision Nutrition, which was a little business entity in Reynoldsburg, to hear about and discuss healthy eating and nutrition, because a healthy body is a healthy mind, to Life Care Alliance, the Meals on Wheels, to learn about the food, the necessity of food and other resources during pandemic, and the ways that they've been able to outreach to our community members to get those resources to them. We've gone to a kids business expo out in Reynoldsburg to talk to our youth about their entrepreneurial goals and aspirations. We've talked to the Academy of Urban Scholars about current events and their future goals and plans. We met with Sophia Pfiffner, who used to be or was a former community relations chief for the Columbus Recreation and Parks, and we took a tour of the new Linden Recreational Community Center there, which provides a wonderful resource for the Linden community. We've talked to various community leaders about affordable housing, and coming up this summer, we're going to be taking we're going to participate in the Summer of Salvation, which is an organization created by some community leaders. Dana Brock, in particular, has organized a series of events to unite community members through a series of cookouts and fun and engagement and activities. So in the beginning, we were looking for that those community conversations already taking place. And now BTB has gained a lot of traction, and a lot of people are reaching out to us. I think it shows a clear desire on the behalf of the community to really engage with their elected officials, to engage in the judiciary. It's our hope that we can meet people, we can be accessible, we can have conversations, so that the first time people aren't seeing a judge, or the first time they're seeing a judge isn't when they're in front of a judge. That way we can humanize the judiciary, we can engage in these very important conversations, and we can hear the needs of our community and what's important to them.
Thank you. What was the reaction of the community the first time you decided to show up to listen? Because it's not something they're used to.
Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. A great need of people, I've learned, is they want to be heard. People want to be heard. They want to express their needs, their wants, their points of view, their perspectives, and just giving them a forum to be heard. Oftentimes as judges in our judicial canons, we're prohibited from, making certain public statements or making very public or taking very public positions on matters. We can't obviously discuss pending cases or cases that are likely to come in front of us, or controversies that are likely to come in front of us. We have to avoid the appearance of impropriety at all costs, but just giving an individual a forum to be heard on an issue that is important to him or her is very valuable. It's very powerful, and people really enjoy that and appreciate that.
Yeah, that is very revolutionary, because normally people only get to hear judges say anything when they go to court or during the campaign. And for you to now turn the mic over to them, that we are listening to you, that is something new. What inspired that idea?
Again, I think when you become a judge and you are faced with very difficult decisions that you know are going to greatly impact people's lives, and that must be handled with care. You want to know more about the people you serve. You need to know the community from which they come, their challenges, their hardships, their struggles, because those decisions cannot be made lightly. And if you're going to be making these important decisions, then active engagement and listening is very important.
Active engagement and listening is very important. And what are those things that you learned from the community since you started turning the mic over to them?
So, you learn more about a person and their life than anything that you're ever going to find in a textbook. Of course, you spend, 4 years in college, and then you go on to law school and you spend 3 years there. And you learn the laws, and you learn what the case law says about certain laws that we have and the interpretation of those laws. But you don't know the community members, that human side you can't find in a textbook. So you learn about what's happening in their community. You learn, if it's a more violence prone portion of the community, you learn if there's, a shortage of food or resources in their community. You learn about if drugs are more prominent in their community. So you become to realize the human aspect of it that, again, you can't find in a textbook, and you're not going to hear on the news. And then you also hear about, a woman who or a man has achieved great success and has put themselves through school, and they've gotten a fantastic job, and they're working and taking care of their families. And those are the things that move you as a judge from a human side. Judges have the obligation and the responsibility to help people improve their lives and their situations. We also have the responsibility to keep the community safe, and that's kind of the dual responsibility that we have. I want to help you improve your life and your situation, and on the other side, I want to keep you and the rest of our community safe. And it's really by knowing your community that you can achieve both of those responsibilities.
That is really amazing. It's like you're going out there to figure out the prologue to the story of those who come before you. And knowing what their stories are before they come before you, we inform and educate you to know how to respond to their unique cases. And
Yeah.
how has doing that affected the way you do your job on the bench?
You listen more. You listen to more about, as a judge, I always want to make a decision from a place of empathy and compassion. And I want to understand how this person came before me, how it is that they got there, and what it will take to help move them to a place beyond this, to a better place beyond the court process. Now courts have multiple resources available to us. We have linkages with mental health, alcohol and drug, housing, as I said, mental health, other addiction services. The municipal court has a lot of specialty courts down here: recovery court, drug court, catch court. So really coming from a place of empathy and compassion and understanding the person in front of you and what it's going to take to help them improve their life and their situation. And Beyond the Bench has just reiterated all of that. We're doing that now, not only in our courtrooms, but outside of our courtrooms as well.
But you can only be compassionate to people if you can empathize with them. So.
Well, and people's problems and their concerns don't originate in the courtroom. Oftentimes they originate outside of the courtroom, and that's what brings them to the courtroom sometimes. And it's our job as judges to understand what's going outside beyond the bench.
Yeah. So beyond the bench is going outside to find the root of the problem.
Yes.
Because we only get to see the branches in court. So most of the people out there, especially in the community, see judges as unapproachable, as if, let's just say, the bench is something that is up there. So and the people feel that they're down here. They feel like they only see candidates when they are running for office. Once they become a judge, they're unapproachable. What do you say to people who feel this way?
That's another hopeful goal of Beyond the Bench, is to humanize judges as well, to make us more approachable and accessible. Again, we hope to reduce that intimidation factor of court as well. It's a very intimidating process, and we understand that. Most of the time, the first time people will see a judge is in the courtroom behind the bench, up in the robe. And that's scary, and that can be intimidating. So Beyond the Bench allows us to take off the robe, to make us more approachable and accessible in the community. When they see us and they see that we have a true and genuine interest in hearing what they have to say, we're hoping to create that dialogue and to create that approachability. So yeah, I hope that most people will start to see that judges are human, like you are, like we all are.
Yeah. And Beyond the Bench is trying to bridge that gap. Are you planning on bringing other judges along?
We would absolutely love that. In fact, Judge Mingo and I just talked about that recently, because when you start an initiative like this, you don't know if it's going to take off, or you don't know if it's going to have much interest or traction. And we've really been surprised at the response, the positive response that we've received, and how many different organizations and areas of our community want to reach out to us and have an event. And so, yes, absolutely, we would love to extend it to other judges and for it to expand and grow in the future, for sure.
Yeah, because it's such a good program. And do judges currently have an open line to the community?
Do the judges have an open line?
With communication?
Oh, yeah. Most judges will serve on boards or committees of some sort or the other. I know most judges that I'm familiar with definitely have open lines of communication. Beyond the Bench is just kind of an organized way that we can continue to engage and go to events and other activities. So Beyond the Bench just continues to bring that to the forefront.
Thank you. And normally, judges hold people accountable, not just people, institutions, also administer justice, just to make sure that we have a balance of law and order and the rule of law. Who holds judges accountable?
So other judges, obviously the Supreme Court, are judicial canons. The judicial canons are very detailed of what judges can and cannot do, and the ways that judges should behave. But of course, if or a member of society, you could always tell if a judge is behaving in the way a judge should be. And of course, the ultimate entity that holds judges accountable are the people that we serve. We're elected here in the state of Ohio, and if a judge is not doing a good job or is not behaving in a way that a judge should, that can be very telling come election time, because the people have the ultimate say.
Thank you. And how important is it for judges to know the community they serve?
Oh, it's absolutely imperative that you know your community. As I mentioned before, you're going to be making decisions on a daily basis that affect the people in front of you, but the community as a whole. And so you absolutely need to know your community.
And that's what you've been trying to do or doing with Beyond the Bench.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you're running another campaign to retain your current seat.
Yes.
last year, you also ran a campaign to retain your former seat.
Yes.
What is it like to run two campaigns 2 years in a row, back to back?
It's difficult from a time perspective because I just wish that I had more time in my day to do all the things that I would like to do. But I've got a great team in place, both at work and my campaign committee. I couldn't ask for a better group of people, both here at my job and in the courthouse and on my campaign. So I'm able to delegate a lot of things. I'm able to share responsibility. I'm able to really make a concentrated effort to reach people both here in the courthouse and in my campaign. But yes, I wish that I had more time in my day.
You made it sound so easy because I know how hard it is to run a campaign at the end of, and you're doing the thing.
The good part about it is all of the logistical and the infrastructure was already in place. So that's what the most time-consuming part of a campaign can be, is getting up and running. But the good thing about doing back-to-back campaigns is most of that stuff is already in place. So if there's a silver lining in it, I had most of that stuff already prepared.
And how do you balance your work life, mental health, judging, and campaigning, especially during a pandemic?
So that's an interesting question, but it is important. You do have to find that balance. You absolutely do. And so I enjoy time with my family and friends. I do work out. I have time to myself. I will do activities that I am interested in from a personal standpoint, reading, yoga, riding my bike. You definitely need to have personal time and me time. So I play with my dog. I'm going on vacation here pretty soon. I'm going to spend a week with my family. And all of those things are very important to maintain the balance and to continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you. And how did you handle the disappointment of the last election?
So it was tough because I really enjoyed the position that I held and the opportunity to serve on the Common Pleas Court. I knew that wasn't going to be the end of my journey, though, so I just had faith that something would come along and that I would enjoy it and that I could continue to serve. And that happened pretty quickly. I'm a woman of faith, so prayer, family and friends really supported me through that time. But I really did have faith that if I was to continue on that journey and I was to continue to serve, that something would materialize. And it did rather quickly. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Yes, because the election was in November. And by March, you're back on the bench.
Yes.
What a comeback queen you are.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Thank you. Wow. And why should the people of Franklin County keep you on the bench in November?
Well, thank you for that. First and foremost is because I care so much about this community. I am genuine when I say that, and I will continue to do my job in a way that I know I'm accountable to the people and that I serve the people. I will always act in a way that is fairly, impartially. I will treat each and every person that comes in front of me with the dignity and respect that I would expect if I were in those shoes. I was evaluated last time as a judge, and I scored very high in my judicial temperament and my objectivity, which tells me that people do feel heard and respected in my courtroom. I am actively engaging in the community outside of the courtroom because I want people in this community, whether they're in the courtroom or out of the courtroom, to know that I care and that I will treat everyone with that same dignity and respect. So, I have the true passion for the job, and I will always take it seriously, and I will never take it for granted.
Thank you. What are those things that you would like people to remember about you when they think about voting?
I would like them to remember that I am a community judge, that I put community first. They will see me out in the community. I am a judge who applauds successes and does not compound struggles. So I will always be a judge that is on your side and rooting for your continued success.
Okay. And if you want to reach out to Beyond the Bench to invite them to any of your activities, you can contact Judge Gina Russo at gmail.com. And if you want to reach out to Judge Gina Russo, you want to find out more about her, you can go to judgeginarusso.com. To the people of Franklin County, you have heard the comeback community judge, Judge Gina Russo. She has told you how compassionate, how he develops empathy and goes to the root of the problem in the community with Beyond the Bench. Thank you, Judge Russo, for joining on Legal Angle.
Thank you for having me. I've truly appreciated this time.
Thank you. And for those of you watching at home, thank you for joining us on this episode. Until next time, stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.